All right, what's up, guys? I'm going to go through slowly how to graph r equals 3 sine 2 theta. So like we've been talking about in class, you want to pick values for theta that when you plug them in, makes this say the sine of 0 or the sine of pi over 2 or the sine of pi, something to where like when you evaluate the sine, you get either 0, 1, or -1. So if I plug a 0 in, the sine of 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0. If I plug a pi over 4 in, the sine of, well, 2 times pi over 4 is pi over 2, right? So the sine of pi over 2 is 1, times it by 3, you get 3, and etc. And I went all the way to 2 pi. Sometimes you can stop before then. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through this, but I needed to write all of them through 2 pi to make this graph happen. So first thing we're going to do is put a point at angle 0, and the radius is going to be 0. So this right here is angle 0, or the 0 radian, if you will, and it has a radius of 0. So that point goes there. The next one is pi over 4, 3. So you open to pi over 4, and then you go out 3 units. Now I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but I'm going to say that the distance between that dot and that dot's 3 units, and then I'm going to connect them with this curve. Okay? Now how do I know that curve looks like that? Well, just by doing a lot of these. But how you can check, if you need to plot yourself some more points, you can. You can pick some values that are in between 0 and pi over 4. Maybe something like pi over 6 and plug it in and go out the pi over 6 radius, and it would land you to here. And you would just like connect the dots in the loop or in the arc that it would make. Okay, fine. So next we're at pi over 2, and it's 0 out the radius there. That's pi over 2. And that would be 0 just right on top of that other dot. And so I'll connect that. Okay. Now, notice here, that was 0, that was a positive 3, that was 0. I want you to think about something like this, okay? 0 and a bunch of positive values, and then at that 0, you have a bunch of negative values, and then at that 0, it goes back to positive. At like this 0 over here, it go back to negative. So I know that in between zeros, I have the same sign of an output. So everything in between this 0 and this 0 has to have a negative output. And when you have a negative output, remember, you have to reflect your arc into like the 180 degrees from where it would have been. Okay, so 3 pi over 4, -3. Well, this is 3 pi over 4, and that would have been positive 3. But since it's negative, I've got to go the other way. So that guy's right there. Okay, now, if I was making my arc and it was positive, well, this area right here, well, that's like, those are the angles that are in between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 4. Well, all of those guys are negative, right? This thing went negative at pi over 2. So it's like pi over 2 is 0, and then it's negative stuff, -3, and it's still negative stuff until you get to 0. So what would have been here, okay, is now here, right? Those guys are the reflection of each other. That's like exactly 180 degrees or pi away, okay? So what would have been like this arc right here is this arc right there. Okay, so fine. I plotted that guy, pi 0, there he is. Okay, and the same idea, right? Like, you know, everything in here is negative, so what would have been in here is now over here. So, connect it in, all right? Now I'm at 5 pi over 4 and 3 out, so here's radian 5 pi over 4. I'm out 3 units, okay? Everything's positive in here, so I don't have to do any reflecting, it's easier. So there's that pedal, okay? And then at 3 pi over 2, well, this is radian 3 pi over 2, okay? I'm supposed to go out 0, so there it is. All right, again, everything in here is positive, so I'm not doing any reflecting. So there's that pedal right there, okay? And then I was at 0, and now I go negative, okay? So everything between here and here is going to be a negative value. All right, so 7 pi over 4 is supposed to give me -3 out, all right? So where's 7 pi over 4? Well, 7 pi over 4 would be this guy, right? And if it was +3, it'd be here, but it's -3, so it's the total other direction. It's right there, it's that reflection, okay? So if I'm thinking about here, right? Well, this reflection is putting me into here, okay? So there's that arc right there. And then 2 pi, 0, all right? Well, this is radian 2 pi, and it would be 0, okay? So like there's my dot. It's like, all right, well, everything between 7 pi over 4 and 2 pi is a reflection, all right? So everything that would have been in here between 7 pi over 4 and 2 pi is reflected over here, so I know that that would be my last arc, okay? And so now I've drawn that rose curve. All right.